Kendra, there's something I'd like to discuss with you. Do you have a moment to talk?
Of course, I'm all yours.
Do you have any plans for the weekend?
No, not really. Why do you ask?
I got a call from my father this morning. He said he heard I got engaged and invited the two of us to our annual family reunion. I was wondering if you'd like to accompany me.
Your father? Are you sure that was him? Didn't you say you hadn't seen your parents for almost a decade?
That's right, but it seems like they are finally making an attempt to mend our relationship. Perhaps I can even find out the real reason they sent me away in the first place.
I see what this is. You want me to use my superb detective skills to shed light on the mystery that's been plaguing you for years.
I am only trying to reconcile with them, but it would be nice to get them to confess what actually soured our relationship overnight. Who would ever accuse their own flesh and blood of being a thief with no evidence whatsoever? They must be hiding the real reason they kicked me out of the house.
I feel angry just thinking about it. Are you sure you want to try and reconcile? If I were you, I wouldn't be so forgiving.
It may be hard to forgive them, but I still want to give them a chance to apologize.
Seems like you've made up your mind about going.
I have.
And you'd like me to come with you?
Well, yes. You don't have to, of course. I know it's a long flight, and most people probably wouldn't wish to meet their future in-laws in these circumstances.
They live in England, right?
Right.
And you're sure they won't mind me being there?
My father insisted that you come along. Besides, I know it's selfish of me, but the thought of going there alone is pretty daunting.
Well, if you are sure it's all right, I'd love to go with you. I've always wanted to visit the UK, but my plans always ended up falling through for one reason or another.
Is that so? I probably should have offered to visit at least once.
No, it's okay. I wouldn't have wanted to stir up any unpleasant memories. I'm happy that we get to go on a mini vacation, but the fact that you can finally get closure makes me feel even happier. Let's hope everything goes smoothly.
Oh, I'm not sure it will. My father said they were looking forward to hearing my success story, whatever that means.
Is that so? In what exactly are you supposed to have succeeded?
Ordinarily, I would have assumed something else, but for my parents, money has always been the single most important measure of success.
So they're expecting you to tell them how you make millions of dollars every year as a musician?
He said he always assumed I'd change careers when I settled down. I didn't think much of it when we were talking over the phone, but now I think he might believe I've had a change of heart and decided to abandon my dream career.
Your family's a little strange, isn't it?
A little is an understatement.
And you still want to confront them face to face? I feel like it'd be easier to do it from a safe distance.
You're probably right. I figured if I spoke to them in person, the chances of reconciliation would be much higher. But maybe that's just wishful thinking. Maybe they'll just see me as a failure and turn me away again.
Please don't say that. I'm sure they'll welcome you back into the family even without you having acquired great wealth. If they don't, we can always make some eat the rich signs and protest outside their house.
What if people take it too seriously and decide to join us? I'm not sure I could ever recover from that in their eyes.
Well, if it does happen, we will put down our signs and start yelling, "Somebody, anybody, please subdue this ravenous mob!"
As long as we do that from a safe distance.
Smart thinking. But are they really so rich that people would consider rallying beside us? I know your family is somehow related to some old Scottish royal family member, but that can't mean much nowadays, right?
You're absolutely right. That's not at all where their wealth comes from. And of course, there's hardly anything royal about us.
Just as I figured. Remember when you accidentally cut your finger making dinner? That's when I realized. There was not a tinge of blue in your blood.
I do remember that. You looked horrified when I called you over and ended up staying over for a week monitoring my arms for changes.
Because you were using that knife to cut raw meat. I had to make sure you didn't get blood poisoning.
I thought that was very thoughtful of you. It's good to have people concerned about your well-being, even as a commoner.
Yes, I've been thinking about this, and I've concluded that I shouldn't discriminate against people on the basis of their class.
You know, hearing you say that does make me think. Perhaps you are right. I think I'm having an epiphany.
I knew you'd get there eventually.
Well, thank you for believing in me. I doubt we'll be convincing my parents anytime soon, though.
So you aren't going to tell them you're still a musician? Because if you want to lie to them, I have plenty of vague job titles to choose from.
You do?
Of course, just listen to these. Businessman, entrepreneur, CEO. They're more than enough to please your family members. Just learn how to deflect the questions coming your way and you'll be set for success.
As much as I love your suggestions, I doubt my family members will take kindly to being lied to.
Well, then make them a reality. Becoming a CEO is a piece of cake. I've been self-appointed as the CEO, CFO, COO, and just about every other executive role, and all I had to do was capitalize on the slime craze of 2018 and ship out a few boxes of slime.
I am in awe of your accomplishments.
Well, thank you. I couldn't have done it without the support of my first and only 4 customers. I owe my success to them.
I can't believe you abandoned such a lucrative venture. What happened? You don't have to say if it's too painful.
It is, but you have the right to know the truth. My 4th customer asked me for a refund. It was such a tedious task, I just had to shut everything down.
Of course, that's a perfectly reasonable reaction.
I knew you'd understand. So what do you think? Would you like to set up a small business?
Honestly, after hearing your story, I don't think I'm cut out for the business world. I'll have to do the right thing and tell them the truth. If they ask. If they don't, I'll just stay silent.
Sounds like a plan to me. So, we're really going?
Looks like it.
Just to make sure, your parents won't be willing to postpone the reunion for, let's say, 2 months, right?
I highly doubt that. Is it an inconvenient time for you?
No, it's just that I've been eager to get an umbrella ever since the pound started falling, but I really don't want to spend extra money on the overseas shipping costs since it's pretty expensive as it is. I figured if I ordered it now, had it delivered to your parents' house, and went to retrieve it in person in 2 months, that could help me save some money.
An umbrella? I don't recall you ever mentioning that. Why do you have to wait 2 months to get it?
Well, that's because it has to be handcrafted. It costs exactly £1,000 before shipping and taxes.
Are you sure you want to spend that much on an umbrella? Also, what umbrella costs $1,200?
The one with a silk canopy and engraving.
I see. Well, since you're so excited about it, I'll graciously help you cover the shipping costs.
Well, that's very generous of you. I mean it.
I have to say, I had no idea you had such expensive tastes.
Well, now you know. You are marrying a decadent wolf in self-restrained sheep's clothing. There's still time to call off the wedding and run.
I'll keep that in mind.
Of course.
You know, now that I think about it, you probably won't have any problems getting along with my parents.
Oh, I'm sure I won't. I studied international relations in Switzerland, remember?
I do. Be honest with me, Kendra. Are you an undercover billionaire pretending to be a struggling actress?
Ouch! If I were a billionaire, I imagine that struggling wouldn't have hurt this much.
I'm sorry. Was that too harsh?
It was, but it's also the truth, so what can you do?
You know, I was being serious earlier. I really think you could win my parents over. I'm sure my father would find you delightful. And if you could find out why they ostracized me over the phone, we wouldn't even have to visit them this weekend.
But I thought you were trying to reconcile with them. You just want to know what happened that day, don't you?
All right, I admit it. It's true, I don't care about the family reunion. I only want to know the reason they suddenly decided they couldn't stand the sight of me.
I knew it. So you want me to get your father to confess by acting sweet?
Perhaps sweet isn't the right word. You might be better off acting bitter and resentful.
All right, I promise I'll try my best. But you have to make a list of everything you know about your father and send them to me so that I can adjust my approach accordingly. Focus on his likes and dislikes.
All right, I can do that. Oh, and one more thing. Could you hide the fact that we live in NYC? Or at least pretend we hate it here? Ever since our vacation home got burglarized, he can't stand the city.
Got it.
Thank you for doing this. I truly appreciate your help.
My pleasure. I'm sure it will be good acting practice.
Good luck.
Good morning, Mr. Short. This is Kendra, Edward's fiancée. I wanted to introduce myself before we met in person. Do you have a moment to talk?
Kendra. Kendra and Edward. Edward and Kendra. Whichever way I look at it, your names seem rather mismatched. Wouldn't you agree?
Would you like me to change my name?
I beg your pardon?
It's a simple and completely legal procedure. Perhaps you could mail me a list of names you approve of and I could pick one out.
You must be joking.
I can assure you I'm being serious.
Are you ready to deal with the repercussions of your reckless statements? What would you do if you really did receive the list?
If your son's name is any indication of your name-picking abilities, I'm willing to give your suggestions a chance. Wealth, fortune, prosperity, what an auspicious name.
Ah, well, looking back at it now, it seems bitterly ironic, doesn't it? What did your parents wish upon you, Kendra?
Knowledge, or so I've been told.
Wealth and knowledge. I must admit I like the sound of that pairing.
So I have your permission to keep my name unchanged after all?
You have an odd sense of humor.
It's an acquired taste. Also, I'm not joking.
Yes, you may keep your name. I'm sure Edward could use some wisdom in his life. Perhaps you could help him see how misguided he is. He must be miserable, missing his old lavish lifestyle. Well, he brought this on himself.
Oh, he is far from being miserable. I'm sure you know as well as we do that material wealth can't buy happiness.
I always assumed there was a positive correlation between the sincerity with which that statement was echoed and the amount of money in one's bank account. Tell me, Kendra, just how sincere are you being right now?
What a roundabout way of inquiring about my net worth. All I can say is that I live in a lovely, spacious apartment in the most expensive city in the world.
Edward told me you lived in Lausanne for most of your life. What prompted you to move to New York?
I wanted to move here for work.
That's right, I heard you were an actress. Could you guide me through your filmography?
Filmography? Do you mean my stage performances?
You are a theater actress?
Well, I suppose I'm more of a musical performer.
Is that so? I'm happy to hear that. I'm quite fond of musicals.
Are you really? What a pleasant surprise.
I am. So, both you and Edward live in NYC?
Yes, we do.
Do you rent or own?
Neither. We're actually living with my parents.
You got engaged while living at your parents' apartment? That can't be right.
Well, we didn't have any other choice. That's all we could afford. It seemed safer this way, too.
I see things haven't changed much since we left.
Did you used to live here?
We used to own a lovely vacation home. We would visit it intermittently throughout the year.
That's right. I remember Edward mentioning that in passing. So, you no longer own it?
No, we sold it right after the second burglary.
You were burglarized twice? I can't say that I'm surprised. I hate to say this, but sometimes I find it hard to feel safe in this city. I mean, I have to lock my umbrella in a safe after each use. Isn't that ludicrous? I'm an honest, law-abiding taxpayer. I even declare the income I find under the couch. Shouldn't they be trying a bit harder for people like us? Sorry. I got a bit too riled up.
Oh no, I understand how you feel. There's nothing I hate more than those greedy vultures. If they're desperate for money, it's their own fault. To think my own son stooped to their level.
Pardon me?
Please disregard that.
I can't possibly do that. Please try to understand that if Edward's hiding something from me, I'd like to know it before we're officially married.
I understand, but I'm not sure I want to be the reason you break off your engagement.
It's that serious?
Yes, unfortunately, it is. My son has done something awful.
Could you please elaborate on that? I'm starting to get worried.
All right, I will tell you on one condition.
What is it?
I'd like you to send me a picture of your engagement ring.
What? Why?
Please, just do it. I'll explain everything after that. What is this?
It's my engagement ring.
It's a ring pop.
I know, isn't that sweet? Neither of us really wears or cares about jewelry. After he proposed, we decided to buy 2 ring pops to commemorate our engagement. They were delicious.
I have no words.
I still don't understand what my ring has to do with whatever Edward has done to incur your wrath. You promised you'd explain it after you saw the photo.
Fine, a promise is a promise. It happened during our family reunion 10 years ago. Back then it was a 2-day celebration. After everyone had gone to sleep, my son stole his grandmother's heirloom engagement ring. It was foolish of me to believe he'd have given it to his fiancée.
No, that can't be right. Edward would never do something like that.
I saw him with my own 2 eyes. He must have thought he was all alone, but I was feeling particularly restless that night and decided to sleep on the sofa. I was half asleep when I saw him enter the room, grab the ring from its display case, and leave. I waited for him to come clean and repent on his own terms, but he acted as though nothing had happened. When I finally had to confront him about it, he acted as though I was insane for thinking he stole something.
It must be a misunderstanding. Your son goes out of his way to return the money he finds on the ground to its owners. There's no way he'd steal from his parents.
I don't know if it's naivete or willful ignorance that's preventing you from seeing him for who he truly is, but I'll neither forget nor forgive him for this.
But you invited him to the reunion. Did you really only invite us to check whether or not his fiancée would be wearing the ring?
Well, we didn't think you'd be wearing it per se, but we figured if he hadn't told you that it was stolen, we could get you to recognize the picture and confess. I thought you were a reasonable person. I guess I was wrong about you.
What are you saying? Even if he had stolen it, don't you think he'd have pawned it long ago? You didn't have to give him false hope.
We reported the ring stolen. We did all we could to find it. If he pawned it, he'd have pawned it in the US. Should I feel sorry for giving him false hope of reclaiming his inheritance? He should be grateful we didn't report him to the police.
His inheritance? So this is why you cut him out of your will? You did it over something you may or may not have seen when you were half asleep?
I've got the information I need. Please let him know he no longer needs to attend the reunion. Goodbye.
Unbelievable. So are you absolutely certain you didn't take it?
Of course you believe me, don't you, Kendra?
Of course I do. I'm just confused. Could he have made the whole thing up?
Well, we really did lose the ring. And he did report it to the police, but I swear I had nothing to do with it. I was fast asleep in my room all night.
Please, don't take this the wrong way, but could you try and recount the events of that day? Perhaps we can figure out what's going on.
I suppose I could write down everything I remember, although I'm not even sure it matters anymore.
It could come in handy if you ever need to prove that you were wrongly disinherited.
I don't know. At this point, I don't think I'd take the money even if they pleaded with me to do so.
You can do as you wish, Edward, but I still believe if there's anyone who deserves to get that money, it's you. I'm not saying that just because we are getting married. Our funds will remain separate as we've agreed. I only want you to clear your name and get what's rightfully yours.
I'm not accusing you of wanting to marry me for my potential inheritance, Kendra. We've been through thick and thin together for 7 years. I just don't see a point in going after my parents' money against their wishes.
But you do want to prove your innocence, right?
I suppose that'd be nice.
Well then, let's do this together. Let's get to the bottom of this.
All right, I'll start writing down whatever I can remember.
Yes, please do that. The name of the sleeping aid your father was given is awfully familiar. I heard its side effects are pretty extreme.
They are, but my cousin had been taking it for quite some time. Besides, he only gave him 1 pill to help him fall asleep. Could it have affected him that quickly?
I'm not sure. What if your father wasn't the one who was affected? Would you say you and your cousin are similar in stature?
We are, but that's hardly any proof.
I'm sure your father will investigate the claim himself. All we have to do is alert him to the possibility.
I suppose we could do that.
That's the spirit. We will exonerate you in no time. In the end, the heirloom ring was located in between the floorboards in the guest bedroom Edward's cousin was staying in. It was covered in dirt and missing a few diamonds. His cousin apologized profusely. He swears he has no idea how the ring got under his bed. My husband has yet to accept his parents' apology, but I'm sure he'll come around eventually. After all, money may not be able to buy us happiness, but it will help us buy the lovely townhouse we've been eyeing.